The Paper Bag, Chapter 14.
I made it as far as the healing stone before I had to sit and read my new book. On the first page it read, "To my dear friend, may this book help you in your journey to become the greatest diviner this generation has ever seen." I had to laugh because it was between me and Andy. She really didn't have the tools I had to become great. Even if she had my books, I wasn't sure she could read them. I turned the page. The heading said color codes. I ran my finger down it looking for white poisons. What I learned was that if I looked at the palm of my hands, I would be able to see color points on my fingertips and palms. That was for poisons where several were combined. In the palm of my hand, I would see what the combined color was. I would not need my seer stone to divine them. All I had to do was touch the affected person, find the poison, then turn my hands over and look at my palms before the colors faded. I could hardly wait to tell Andy the next time I saw her. The next page was a drawing of what my palm might look like. Salty was a good artist, and I wondered what he would be able to do if he didn't have such debilitating arthritis. On the page beside the picture were several poison combinations that caused crippling diseases or a slow death. The diviner who wrote about these called them recycling poisons. If the dragon was treated daily, the poison would slowly make progress. If they were not treated, they would die faster, but by the time the poison is discovered, it would be too late. In both cases, they would eventually die. All the poisons I had received information on were about instantly killing someone. I was so interested in recycling poisons, I studied the pages on them in detail. In the middle of the fourth page, I read about a poison combination that slowly caused the twisting of joints using 2 spider venoms and an extract derived from the husk of the mangosteen fruit called the purple twister. "Next time I see Salty, I must put my hands on him," I mumbled aloud to myself. On the 6th page, I found something promising, but there were many variables of this recycling poison. Each combination resulted in slowly killing the heart and had at least 6 to 7 poisons and deadly plants. Someone would have to be very skilled to make this.
"Who are you talking to, and where is Eddie?"
Aunt Cass asked from the doorway. "He was behind me with Skunk."
"Skunk? Doesn't she already have a suitor?"
I shrugged. "I don't know. They didn't appear to be too chummy. I'm going to see my mother." As I reached the top of the stairs, I couldn't help but wonder if the poison my mother had been given was recycling, and it would be a slow death like Salty's. I went to the nursery. Lupita was gone again, and Andy was there.
"Your mother has been able to nurse Rose today,"
she said excitedly. "That's wonderful. Are they both in my mother's room?" The bruise on her face completely covered her right cheek. I stood in front of her. "That looks bad. Do you want me to try and heal it?" She shook her head.
"You are kind, sir, but I am sure your mother needs your healing more than me."
I tried speaking to her with my mind. "I have something to show you in my mother's room." She didn't hear me, or she pretended not to, so I whispered to her, "Follow me into my mother's room. I have something to show you." She needed no further coaxing. When we walked into my mother's room, Mom was on the healing stone sleeping with Rose curled up next to her. "Mom," I said quietly, "we are here to give you a healing." She smiled sleepily up at me, reached up, and touched my cheek with her hand.
"How did training with Eddie go?"
"Eddie isn't hard to keep up with."
"Really?"
In my mind, I told her. "We went to see Salty.
What kind of exercises did you do?"
We ran mostly. Can I see your feet, please?" She nodded. I went to my knees, pulled the covers off her feet, and held them in my hands. First, I sent my fire through her blood until I came to her heart. Then I flipped my hands over. Each of my fingertips had a yellow, light blue, or pink glow like Salty's drawing. What if there are more than 10 poisons or plants? I whispered to myself. Without saying anything else, I stared at my hands until the glow faded.
"What was that?"
Andy whispered. She kept her head bowed. "This is what I wanted to show you," I said quietly. "If you look at your palms, you will see a code for poisons on your hands. Try it." I was shocked. My mother noticed the expression on my face.
"What's wrong?"
She asked as Andy took hold of her hands. "You've been poisoned with a very complicated poison, and I'm not sure what I'm doing, Mom." I frowned at her. Then an idea came to me as Andy looked at her hands. Speaking soft and low, I asked, What if we both put our hands on my mother and look at our palms together?
I've never heard of such a thing.
I need to know the combination to figure out how to cure my mother and your father. Will you at least try? Andy didn't answer me. Instead, she took hold of my mother's hands. So I grabbed her feet again and closed my eyes, concentrating hard. Andy and I both turned our hands over at the same time. Her fingers and palm were lit up, but mine were only half lit. One of my fingertips glowed a dull black. How come some of your fingertips glow brighter than the others? I asked.
I have no idea.
Our palms are both glowing white in the middle, but yours has a hint of blue in it.
If each of these colors are poisons, then there are 17 of them.
Andy said in a shocked voice. I was surprised too. I can't believe it worked with both of us together like that.
If we had not tried, we never would have gotten the complete code. Who would do such a thing to our parents?
Is that bad?
It means you have a recycling poison and whoever made it is an expert. They were probably counting on our lack of skills to save you. I sat next to my mother and looked at the palms of my hands. Andy stood and looked as if she didn't know what to do. I talked to Andy about all the things I had learned from the book Salty gave me. We didn't talk long because I had only read a few pages. I wonder what Aunt Cass will say about our conversation. I hoped nothing. After Andy left the room, I noticed my green book lying next to my mother's pillow. Did I leave this here? I picked up the book.
Yes, it was very enlightening. I think it would be good reading for you as it would complement your studies.
I took it and started reading. It would have been more enjoyable if I could have read a brief history of the Organsis tribe aloud, then my mother and I could talk about it, but I would have lost my book and a good friend. Instead, we talked about it in our minds. If I do it too long, I get a headache, so I let my mother do most of the talking.
Salty's decision to marry an Organsis dragon and seeing how many children they had was why I decided to marry your father. He was so kind and handsome.
My mother laid back on her stone and sighed.
I think my mother hoped by using Salty as an example, it would persuade me to not marry your father. Things had gotten bad around here with so many dragons unable to reproduce. Even now, Lupita and I were the only dragons this year to have a child. Our clan hasn't had a birth in 10 years, all because of stupid dragon pride.
They could say that it was because their diviner died. I commented.
I doubt that. In college, I did all kinds of research, and the only result that worked was to intermix our clans. Salty figured it out before anyone. He and I had many conversations on the subject when I was in college. Around here, the other clans are considered lower class. Salty was so brave back then. I had never seen anyone stand up to my mother like he did. He gave me strength to do what my heart told me to do.
Marry my father.
That and more. Coming back here is a cold reminder of what I left behind. If I wasn't so sick, we would be gone, and Cass could retain her crown. She acts like she doesn't want it, but I know her better than anyone.
So, we are going to leave?
I'm afraid they won't let you go.
I was distracted by my sister smiling at me. Hello, beautiful, I said and kissed her on the cheek. Will they force me to stay against my will?
They might. You must be careful. They will also put up with more because they will want to win you over.
Like buy me a fancy phone.
Exactly, or let you visit the Organsis village if you like.
What about Salty?
Sure, but they will probably put a mic on you or a tracker if they haven't already.
Eddie called my name on the speaker and that ended our mental conversation.
Your fencing instructor is here.
I looked at my mother. I have fencing lessons?
Aunt Cass thought it would be good for my young guardian to learn how to use a weapon. Your father always tried to curb your temper, but I think he would be happy to know that you are a guardian.
Can I leave my book here? My mother slid it under her pillow as if that could hide it from Aunt Cass. She was probably watching us right now. I hurried down the stairs. At the bottom were 2 men and a woman all dressed in white. The grand entrance had a long mat that was about 3 feet wide with marked sections on it. The head trainer was named Lattice. The others were students of his, Alice and Martin. He showed me several moves that he wanted me to practice daily. As a group, he ran us through the drills, correcting us when we did them wrong. I worked hard to keep up with the others. When we were done, Lattice gave me a sword. The blade was short with a round disc above the grip handle to protect my hand. What do you call this?
It is a practice foil.
Alice said. She put on a helmet that totally covered her face. The front of it was covered in a wire mesh and had a thick bib attached to the bottom of it. She did a few impressive moves while I was dressed by the other drakes in pants that were gathered at the bottom and had a thick waistline. The top was like a long-sleeved turtleneck shirt that zipped up the back. They even had special shoes and socks for me to wear. I was given a few pointers on how to jab. I stood on one end of the mat while Alice stood on the other. We both walked to almost the center of the mat. She stood with her right foot forward and her left foot pointing outward, while I was instructed on how to stand properly. Then they moved away. Lattice clapped his hands, and Alice came at me so fast I didn't have time to guard myself. After she stabbed me several times, it was Martin's turn. He was even better than she was, and I was beginning to think that maybe I wasn't Guardian material after all. When our training session was done, I was exhausted and glad when my trainer was gone. Tad came into the room. He bowed toward me.
I must put my owner's mat away, unless you would like to practice more, my prince.
I'm too tired to practice anymore. He bent to roll up the mat. But I'm not so tired that I can't help. Together we silently rolled it up and put it in a big closet near the front door that was filled with different blades that made mine look puny. I walked into the living room and sat at the kitchen bar. I'm starving, I said to Frank. What do you have for lunch?
Have you looked at the time?
He pointed to my cell phone on the counter.
I found that on the carpet.
I cringed. It must have fallen out of my pocket. Thanks. I picked it up and looked at the screen. It's dinner time. Wow, I didn't realize it was so late.
Cass would like us all to have dinner together.
It smells delicious. What are you making?
Grilled chicken on noodles topped with my famous chili sauce. It will burn all the way down. You will love it.
Who do you know that is a good chemist around here?
Why do you want to talk to a chemist?
I just learned that my mother has a recycling poison, and she will never be cured if I can't figure out the code in time. Frank grabbed a spray bottle and began scrubbing the counter like it was coated with grime, but it looked clean to me.
I think you better ask Cass about that. I tinker in it, but I'm not a chemist.
Salty said you were one of the best around here. I exaggerated just a little. Chemists and apothecaries are the same, aren't they? I mean, how else would you know what poisons to give me?
Jack, they aren't the same. I don't have a formal education. It's more of a hobby that I learned from my father.
I see. I could tell my questions were stressing him out. I left my book in my mother's room. I slid off my stool. His reaction was weird. Why did he want me to ask Cass? Does he have to ask her permission to tell me stuff now? All these questions in my head were making me angry. I stormed up the stairs only to meet Cass at the top of them.
How is fencing today?
I suck at it.
It was your first day. Give yourself some time.
Why do I feel like you're hiding things from me? I looked right into her blue eyes.
What do you mean?
Frank wants me to ask you where I could find a chemist. I need help to figure out what is wrong with my mother, and I'm not being kept in the loop about my father. It's as though you don't want to find him.
Jack.
She said softly and put a hand on my shoulder.
We are just as frustrated as you are. I'll look into finding you a good chemist.
I'm sure you will. I said a little too mean, but she was getting on my nerves, or maybe I was just hungry. With my hands balled into fists, I stormed off to my mother's room and knocked softly.
Come in.
I bristled into the room.
What's wrong?
Cass is still driving me crazy. I said too loud and woke my sister with a start. Her eyes looked about the room until they fell on me. Sorry, I whispered. Rose smiled big at me and totally dissolved my anger. She turned her head towards our mother. She really is a happy baby, isn't she? I forgot what I had come into the room for. She is magical even though she sleeps most of the time.
What did Cass do now?
My mother asked as I bent down to kiss my sister. She is trying to control everything.
She's turned into my mother.
We have to have dinner together. I came to get my diviner book.
It's on the floor where you left it.
Thanks, Mom. If you and Rose weren't here, I don't know what I would do. Probably run away.
I know I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for you, my boy.
She held out a hand to me. I bent down and kissed her cheek. I love you, Mom.
I love you too. Try to be nice to Cass.
I picked up my book and headed back downstairs. Frank and Cass were arguing in the kitchen, so I stood out of sight and listened.
Frank, you help the boy.
No, I didn't want to do this in the first place.
I need you to be strong. This will work. He doesn't know enough to implicate you. And by the time he does, it will be too late.
Cass, it's wrong.
Don't you want me to be queen?
Yes, but she doesn't want your crown anyway. There was no need to kill her.
She could always change her mind.
I had heard enough. I was about to go in there and tell them what I thought of them when Eddie put his big hand on my shoulder and said in my mind,
Follow me.
I followed him back up the stairs.
So how was fencing today?
He said loudly, It was okay. I tried hard not to sound mad, so when my words came out, I had to force them through my teeth. To my mind, he said,
I suspected they had done something. Strange that both your mother and Bean came down with the same thing and they both received IVs when we rescued them.
I was so mad smoke was curling from my nostrils again.
Keep your cool, kid. Together we will take them down.
Cass greeted us in the entrance to the family room. I couldn't hide my anger toward Cass, but she treated me like everything was all right between us. What I wanted to do was to use the voice to make them tell the truth about what they had given my mother. It would make my life so much easier, if only I knew how.
Go clean up for dinner.
Cass said in a sickly sweet voice like she wasn't doing anything wrong. I went to my room and took a shower. When I was finished, I pulled on a t-shirt and slipped into a pair of jeans. Inside, I was working out what I would do. What I needed was a really good plan. Eddie came to get me.
Come on, kid. If you let on that you know something, it could be very bad for your mother and sister.
He whispered as we left my room. I went back and grabbed my book. We sat at a table to eat like a real family would. I put the book by my plate. Cass looked disappointed at it but didn't say anything. During the meal, everyone talked but Frank and I. They were all traitors, and I couldn't stomach to look at them. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Frank wasn't eating. He just moved his food around on his plate.
Snap out of it, kid, or they will figure out that you know.
Eddie said to my mind. I started a conversation. Cass, I would feel better if you would let me go to the library every day. I feel like I'm trapped here.
Isn't your training with Eddie helping?
Yes, but Salty won't let me check out some of the books and I couldn't read them if I did. I would feel like I was doing something to help my mother if I could go. She smiled at me and put a hand on top of mine.
If it means that much to you, go. Just don't bring Saul home.
It took all my mental strength not to yank my hand out from under hers.
Good job.
Eddie said in my mind. I noticed you have some nice blades in the closet. I moved my hand to cut my chicken.
Yes, I do.
Cass retracted her hand. Are you a guardian too?
It is my one and only talent.
She smiled at me as if she had already gotten away with killing my mother. My mission was clear. I would not only save my mother but my father too. I thought and quickly finished eating. After dinner was cleaned up, everyone vanished, leaving me alone studying my book. I discovered how the codes work. When I pick up a mouse with a single poison, I need to look at my other hand. My mind would instantly remember the poison by color without knowing the name. The book encouraged me to start keeping a record of new codes not included on the 10 pages of poisons previously listed to aid future diviners. Salty had added a few blank pages at the end of the book. I grabbed an ink pen and wrote what Andy and I had discovered about diviners sharing codes should they be long and complicated. If all dragons are as prideful as Eddie thinks, I doubt they would ever try what we did. The most interesting part was when I read about why my fingertips glow. It is the code of a single poison that makes my fingertips glow. Once I ingest the poison, I become immune, and the glow will be bright. I already have the code. I just need to get all my fingertips to glow brightly. I went to the speaker and paged Frank.
What do you need, Jack?
I'm ready for my poison training.
I'll be right in.
I noticed that a light on the speaker panel lit up. It was labeled the lab. Eddie strode in.
I heard you page Frank. Is it mice eating time?
Yeah. If I get sick, will you help me to the bathroom again?
I got your back, kid, in more ways than one.
He whispered and took the seat next to me at the kitchen bar. Frank came into the kitchen from a door that connected to it.
I'm sorry, but one of your mice hasn't died yet. You can eat it alive or wait until it dies.
I made a face.
You can have him last.
Frank's eyes wouldn't meet mine as he started to extract one dead mouse after another. Each cage was marked by what poison they had been given. I pulled out my book, laid my pen on the empty page to record the poison, and the color if I was given a new one. My curiosity was so overpowering that I didn't give much thought about what I would have to do after I checked my palms. Frank washed the first mouse and placed it in a bowl. I took hold of its tail. Water dripped from its small body as I held it in the air over the bowl and gazed at my other hand. One of my fingertips glowed fuchsia. I ran my finger down the pages of colorful dots until I found one that matched. Concentrated valerian root, I said, and lowered the mouse into my mouth without thinking about what I was doing. Frank looked at the label.
You're right.
He set another mouse in the bowl. I picked it up by the tail and searched the page for a deep forest green dot. I smiled. Black widow venom. I swallowed the mouse. He gave me another one. I quickly went through all 12 mice.
Do you feel up to one more?
Frank asked, looking at me apologetically.
The last one finally died. Eddie can eat it if you don't want it.
I was already starting to feel the effect of the different venoms, but the valerian root was the worst. Sure, why not? It's not like I will throw them up. I took the last mouse by the tail and looked at my hand. I looked for a coal-black dot on the different pages. It's not on here.
I got it from the poison JP pharmaceutical used on Eddie.
It's in synthetic then, I thought. Frank had given me a key, whether he knew it or not. I had seen black in the code. They were in league with JP Pharmaceutical, and I wasn't going to say anything. Does it have a name?
Not yet.
It choked out my fire and made it hard to breathe.
Eddie added, remembering the event. I'm going to call it Smoke Killer. I quickly scribbled the name in my book. Do we have paints around here?
No, but you can use salties when you go see him. 13 kid, good job.
That was the last thing I remembered before I blacked out. I woke up in my bed with Eddie hovering nervously over me saying,
Breathe, kid, breathe.
He dabbed my face with a wet cloth. When he saw my eyes open, he sighed.
I thought you were a goner when you fell off your chair.
How long have I been out? He looked at his phone.
About 6 hours. You turned purple. Cass said that you won't die because you're a diviner, but I wasn't sure, so I had Tad fetch Andy.
I told him that if I healed you, it would cancel out your training and you would have to do it again.
She laid a hand on Eddie and quickly removed her hand and put it into her pocket.
Venoms are one of the hardest to ingest.
What's harder? I asked, rubbing my aching head.
Man-made synthetic poisons. They are foreign to our bodies. It takes diviners longer to recover. That is what my elders have told me. They let me try one. I was sick for 2 days. Well, now that you are feeling better, I had better get back to work. Don't worry about your mother, I will give her a healing.
She bowed and left the room. I went to get out of bed.
It's late, Jack. Why don't we call it a night?
Eddie suggested. He didn't have to say anything else to make me go to bed as my head was spinning. Relief didn't come until I laid back down. I think you're right.
Do you want some water or hot sauce?
I'm good. Just need to sleep.